We're ready now to start on assignment 3, and we have covered pencil drawing and ink drawing, and we talked a little bit about shadows cast on the table. Any object in front of another object can cast shadows on the object behind. We haven't really yet dealt with a complete three-dimensional object, and so that's what we're going to work with on assignment 3. And then you should have enough skills to do the final. So during the Renaissance, artists devised a way to show a three-dimensional visual illusion, and it's not really seen in art from other parts of the world. Particularly, this was something that was invented by artists of the Italian Renaissance. Sometimes Leonardo da Vinci is credited with this, sometimes they all are credited with developing it. So this is called Renaissance chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is an Italian word. It means light, dark, light next to dark. And this will make your drawings take on a three-dimensional feel. And if you've done the egg as the example correctly, it will begin to pop off the page. So it deals with how to draw a rounded form. And we're starting in your assignment handout. You have a computer drawing of a sphere. This is a bad reproduction, but we'll go with it. So the part that is the very lightest, where the light reflects on the egg, and you should set up a light that's coming from the top, or sit by a window, or ideally have a light set up that's shining down on your drawing area. So the highlight will be right here. It's very subtle, you can see it. Then the light area is the very lightest pale gray part of the egg. And then the shadow area is the in-between gray right in here. And the core of the shadow is this dark U-shaped shadow that wraps around the egg near the lower third of the egg. And then this is something that isn't seen very well on the handout, but you can see it on the actual egg, the reflected light. See this little halo down here on the bottom of the egg. It's not on the paper, it's on the egg. And that is light reflecting off the paper, shining back up on the underside of the egg. And then on the paper exactly, you see the cast shadow. Now you can see that there are different light sources. There's one that makes a shadow here, there's one that makes a shadow here, and there's one that makes a shadow here. Just ignore these halos out here and just draw the one that you see in the middle. Hopefully you will be able to set up your light in the same way, because if you cannot, it will be confusing. So try and get a lamp that's just shining down on your egg from above. That would be the ideal lighting to do this assignment. Then to begin with, you want to draw the shape of the egg. Get one of your H pencils and draw that shape. And don't do it too dark, because there are no lines in this drawing of the egg. There are shadows, shading and shadows. So don't do it too light. Most of this drawing will be done with the tortillon stump. And you may want to start with just the core of the shadow. Now, if you cover up that light, reflected light area here, don't worry about it. You can go back and fix it with a small pencil eraser later. Or you could fix it with just a corner of your art gum eraser. So we won't worry about that right now. But start working with your tortilla stump and just continue to lay down shading. You may need to darken your tortilla stump with a B pencil a little bit. So not only are there no lines on an egg image, but there are no dark spots or anything like that. So you have to lay down a really, really smooth layering of shadows that blend into other shadows. Now the next part we're going to do is called the shadow area, and that's just right above the core of the shadow, right here. And remember, there are no outlines on these shadows. Just light doesn't normally need an outline. So just keep going over and over it. Blend it up to a lighter shadow. And then you're going to have the very lightest shadow up in here. And that's just like a very slight gray. And somewhere on the top of the egg, you'll see a highlight. And again, no outlines. If you get an outline, you want to take it away, maybe with your kneaded eraser. And just keep working on that. So you have, this is really subtle, but I think you can see it. You have your highlight. You have your light area. That's next. Then the shadow area. And then the core of the shadow. Now, the more you can emphasize the core of the shadow, the more your drawing will begin to take on a form. The more it will start to pop off the page. This needs a lot of refining and smoothing, but I think that you can get the idea. Now, the cast shadow, again, it's the shadow that the egg makes on the page. I'm going to start with just a regular school pencil. So this is not on the egg anymore. This is on the table. Then I'm going to go back with an eraser and make the reflected light, which is the light shining back up on the bottom of the egg from the light reflecting on the table back up to the bottom of the egg. Okay, this is not blending really well. I'm going to go back to the tortilla stump. And again, this shadow has no outline. These are all just gradual gradations of shading. And you should be able to do that by now. Then I want to go back and just show the reflected light, which is just very narrow, very thin. Look on your egg and see if you can see it. I had no idea that reflected light existed until I did this exercise, but it will really help your shading. So how is this process useful? Well, every three-dimensional object has a shadow. If there's light, there's vision, and if there's vision, there's shadows. So when you're drawing a head is basically an egg shape. We'll have similar shading. We're going to go into this in more detail. Here are more heads in different positions, but they all have shading similar to an egg. So that's what's going to take us to the final project. So look at your handout on assignment 3 that names the parts of the shadows, and move forward from there.